video. Today I have many things that I want to share, and I'm just going to let them unfold naturally in the rhythm of stillness and slowness, so that you can tap into your own stillness as well and find your own inner peace, especially pertaining to this topic. So I learned a big lesson this week, a couple of days before last. There's all different ways that we get ourselves into altercations with life, and one of the ways that I did this was I was sat on the perimeter of our property and someone else's, a neighbour, and I was admiring the nature. I was being present with the land, trying to pray for the land and hold a space of grace for the land. And the reason I'm telling you this story is because there's different ways that we get into war with other beings that we may not be fully aware of until after the fact. And I want to save you some time, some energy, and I also want to save you from having to deal with kind of the distraughtness of what I went through on this day. But at the same time, learning your own lessons is important. A thorn of experience is worth way more than a wilderness of warning, right? However, I want to talk about kind of what it means to be in 3D consciousness but think you're in 5D. Okay? So with my story, it played out, as I said, in that I was sat in between what is technically more the neighbour's land than what is our land, what has been cordoned off as our land, in the garden. And because I was just in a place of transforming energies with the power of light, with the power of prayer, with the power of meditation, I somehow completely blocked off my, and I say completely, I could hear the lawnmower going off. So what happened is that I was in meditation in between these two pieces of land, and I heard, it's not all that funny, but it's a little bit funny to me now just because of how wild the events were. But I heard my neighbour get on their lawnmower vehicle, and it's like I don't know what you guys call them here. We don't really have, I think we probably do have them in England, but where I'm from in the north, we have lawnmowers that you push with your hands. Here in Canada, it's a bit different. They sit on the lawnmower, and it's like a little quad bike. And he was on his lawnmower, and I was in meditation. And something happened in me where I felt entitled to be where I was, because I was in 5th dimensional consciousness or so. I thought, and I'm still really learning from this experience, so bear with me with this. I'm getting to a point that I think will be useful for many of you, because I think this is remnants from a time when there really was more war going on. The war that's going on now is much more silent, much more behind the scenes in our world today. So anyway, I was sat in meditation. I was going through my chakras, Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om, and I was saying thank you, I bless you, I honor you, I see you, I love you to the land as it was getting cut down. And part of me felt sad that the grass was being cut. Another part of me just wanted to be with Mother Nature. For some reason I got it into my head that I needed to stand my ground, stay where I was and not move. And so what happened is the neighbor came within inches of my toes, my bare feet, on the grass. And in that moment I looked at him in the eyes and I smiled. And he smiled back, but it was a very strange energy in that it wasn't really I don't know what kind of energetically took place there. It all happened so quickly. But anyway, I didn't realize until later that I was in the wrong, in that I was sitting on someone else's land, even though it's a 3rd dimensional construct that we own the land. Nevertheless, if I wanted to be in 5D consciousness, I have to be aware that there are 3D constructs in place. And I wasn't taking this into account. I was instead kind of putting myself in danger. And even though I knew I was protected, because I felt an immense glow coming from my being, what I would say is that the aftermath that occurred with that was intense, because I felt really disrespected by the neighbor in that he eventually, of course, told me to move, and that's fair enough, and I did, and all was well. But there was this deep fight in me that I think is happening as a global collective right now, where there is one against the other. There is one side that thinks it's right, and it's the other side that thinks it's right, and it's combating each other, because it felt very fractal. It felt like I was moving so much energy this day that it felt deeper than what my conscious mind knows about. It felt like I was doing something that was a karmic lesson. And now I can see that it is important for us as light workers, empaths, sensitive beings, crystal children, those of us that are here to bring more light into the world. I've learned that even in my wanting to bring light to the land and even the person, because I was certainly not in any kind of anger per se. I wasn't in a place of you shouldn't be cutting the lawn down. I wasn't doing any of that. But what I was doing is sitting just a few inches too close to his piece of land, okay? And even though at the time I didn't think that was wrong, there was an element of war consciousness there that I wasn't aware of. And because I thought I was coming from 5D consciousness, I had a big wake-up call, because what I realized is that that kind of thing, when I'm not aware of the 3D constructs that are going on around me, or I dismiss them, it causes problems when we expect others that are in 3D to rise up and meet us there, because the thing is that something as 8th dimensional as a tree doesn't have as much protection as we would like it to have if a chainsaw is coming at it from the 3D, if that makes sense. And so I wanted to just make you aware of the fact that we have these karmic patterns that we're resolving and that we're clearing collectively right now, that has to do with ancient ways of warring, so to speak. Now, even though my story might seem like I didn't really do much wrong, or maybe to some of you it will seem like I was in the wrong, there'll be a tipping scale, right? I'd say that the balance for me and for you is that you do stay within the 3D constructs, but within those 3D constructs you allow the 5th dimensional part, 5th dimensional part of you that wants to rise up into more light, into more love, into sharing more of the true codes of the angelic presences that are here, that inform us on a deep level and help us to understand that we are part of an ecosystem, and that we ought to be very respectful of every living thing we come into contact with, even the blades of grass. There is still a waking up happening, and if we are to help with this awakening, we need to be within the 3D constructs and coming at it from the 5th dimensional, not trying to get outside of the 3rd dimensional construct. So, okay, let me say it like this. What I needed to do in that situation was sit a few inches back, several inches back, so that his lawnmower wasn't going to throw anything at me, which luckily it didn't. I very much felt protected in that moment. But that doesn't mean that you should put yourself in danger. And I had to learn this the hard way that day. I should have been several inches back, meditating in what is basically our garden. And influencing the land and the people that are inhabiting it from there, instead of coming to the person and on their land and trying to change things from there. You don't go to the war, you let the war, and I don't even want to say let the war, because you let the energy come to you where you are, as what you've defined as your constructs, because from there you can invite the consciousness to come up to 5th dimensional, to come into more truth, to come into more sensitivity and softness of the heart, so that you can pay attention to what's really happening in life all around you, both intuitively and logically. Or they can choose to stay in 3D and maybe not even necessarily come into your boundaries. The thing that I am really wanting to get across here is that many of us may feel a warrior spirit inside of us come about us, and I want to say that it is important to have your warrior spirit with you at all times, but don't let it become a war. Be very careful about that. I didn't realize until afterward that I may have had something taken over me a little bit, some kind of I want to do right by the earth and I'm entitled because of that. So it was a difficult lesson, because I thought I was doing something good, and in a way I was on one side of things, and that I was imagining this land be given nurture and seeing it grow with plentiful fruit and flowers and just be tended to in the most amazing, magical way that gives back to the ecosystem and the humans that inhabit and all of the animals and insects. This is my vision for the new earth. This is maybe part of your vision for the new earth. But I can't let that vision, you can't let that vision cloud you as to what is right in front of you and needs to be attended to in the physical dimension. Like I say, I was protected, and you will be protected when you're doing the right kind of work. I don't know if this is really... Is that necessary? Yeah, so like his lawnmower broke down after he went past me with his lawnmower and didn't say anything. Which, again, I wasn't necessarily in the right, but neither was, as we know, that kind of energy. That's, you got to make sure you speak up. If that's your piece of land and you don't want to hurt anybody, speak up. But neither of us spoke up. It was a silent war going on. It's funny, but it's not funny, because there's something underneath that I want to get to, where it's we can be taken over even when we think we're doing something right, and it can be an entity that does that makes you think you're doing the right thing. Why do you think so many people in the world that are doing terrible, terrible things still will believe that they're doing the right thing? It's because their ego kind of gets in the way and they think they're doing something for the light. In reality, they're not listening to the full spectrum. In reality, I wasn't listening to the full spectrum here because I was sitting on quote-unquote their land, okay? So you have to work within the matrix to work. You work within the matrix, but you are not of the matrix, is what I want to say. So I really hope that makes sense. It's a little bit cryptic and abstract. It's just that, what I'm talking about here goes so deep that it's a fractal, it's an archetype of what's going on right now. And in, previous times in history, this would have looked like being in battle, being in war. But like I said, we're in subtle wars right now. And it's energetic, it's silent, and it's basically invisible, what we're dealing with here. So I want to say to you that you're not alone in dealing with some of these energies that are unseen. You may have to go through some of these lessons yourself, and they may be painful, but at the same time, you are able to learn a great big lesson from that, move forward with that, and make sure next time that you are fully in your power. Like, one of the things that I noticed from that experience is that I would have been a lot better off if I was on my piece of land. Instead of trying to say, hey, I wanna pray for this land, I wanna kind of stop you from mowing down all of this beautifulness. I was coming from a war consciousness, didn't realize it. And like I say, we need people with discernment to stand up for what's right here, but we need it to come from the voice. One of the things I've learned with this is that if I don't say anything to them first, I can't show them with my energy first. I have to show them with my energy first from my land, not from theirs. And again, it's a fractal message. Hoping that you get it and what I'm trying to say. And if you have been dealing with this, just know that you're on the right track, but just also know that there may be something living out in you that's from a previous timeline where it thought that the best thing to do was to get in there, get into the nitty-gritty and fight from that space. Whereas I'm saying, I think our best bet in dealing with in seeding the new earth, in bringing through more light, in balancing this place with the angelic virtues and kingdoms that we know are really part of life has just been forgotten. I would say that the best thing to do is to allow it to come to you and work with your inner worlds first. So I was doing one thing right in that I was working with my inner world, meditating on the land, but the one mistake I made was to not move. As soon as I seen that coming toward me, you do need to run. Like, okay, there's a time to stand. There really is, and the time to stand is when you use your voice to speak up for what's right. But there's a time to move and to run, and the animals will show you that. You know, they don't. If a lawnmower's coming at them, or if, you know, even if you just walk by, they're not just gonna, unless they really feel your vibes and they can feel that you're in the same kind of soft, nurturing heart that nature can be in. Or not just soft and nurturing, but also the powerful commanding presence as well, because nature isn't just like, nature will stand up for itself. And so you know, just making sure that you yourself don't put yourself in any kind of danger when you're doing some of your light work, like I am illustrating with this story. And also know that you're protected when you command that nothing and no one has power over you. Love is my truth. Light is my truth. And I call on that as often as possible. Just know that in fear, it takes courage, because without fear, you don't have courage. So anytime you feel fear, it's a ding, ding, ding. Okay, I need courage right now. Fear isn't just there for you to feel, fear is there for you to pull up your courage. And now is a really good time to be doing that. Some of the ways that you can continue your light working practices will come to you in meditation, will come to you with the land when you ground yourself with earth. Just be aware of how much you share your energy, because you want to make sure that you're coming from your space, your sacred space, as much as possible. And if you do have to go out, then know that you're still protected. Know that you're being carried and cared for by the earth wherever you go, especially when you call in those angels, those light beings that are part of the very fabric and sacred geometry of this place. So, if you have anything you'd like to share, please do in the comments down below, or you can send me an email, synchronicity.com. Know that there is much support for you, for all of us, in going through these changes and transitions. And yeah, I wish you all the best with that. Many blessings your way, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.